It started with a film reel. A small, dusty metal canister arrived in the mail with no return address, no note, just a weight heavier than it should have been. Inside was a roll of 16mm film and a single sheet of paper. On it, scribbled in pencil, were 5 words. Watch them. They never left. No date. No signature. Just a faint brown ring from a coffee cup, as if whoever wrote it didn't care about precision, only the urgency of passing something on. Emily Jacobs, a 34-year-old investigative podcaster from Chicago, wasn't new to strange packages. Her show, The Forgotten Files, dug into unsolved mysteries, abandoned towns, and cold cases buried by time. Fans and strangers alike mailed her artifacts, photographs, journals. Most were hoaxes, but a handful had cracked open real stories. But this reel was different. It smelled faintly of rust and alcohol. The kind of smell that seeps into basements where history has been rotting for decades. She set up her projector in the studio. The light buzzed, throwing dust motes into the air. The film began. At first, nothing unusual: hallways of a hospital, polished floors, numbered doors, nurses in white uniforms moving like machines. On the walls hung posters with slogans, bold red letters urging, "Cleanliness is patriotism," and "The New Mind for a New America." Their edges were faded, as if even the slogans were trying to forget themselves. The camera shook and cut abruptly. A different scene appeared, a busy street market in a small Midwestern town. Farmers hauling crates, children chasing each other, a preacher handing out leaflets. It looked like the early 1950s, the fashion, the cars, the way people moved. And there, right in the middle of the market, was a family. Husband, wife, 2 children. Ordinary in every way, the man in a worn coat, the woman with a scarf over her hair, the boy clutching a paper bag of apples, the girl squinting against the sun. But the camera stayed on them too long. 30 seconds. A full minute. Long enough for unease to creep in. The woman adjusted her scarf. The man tipped his hat. The children laughed about something unheard. The crowd moved around them, alive and chaotic, but no one seemed to notice the family. Emily leaned closer. On the woman's neck glimmered a necklace. A heart-shaped locket. Engraved with 2 letters, M.A. Emily's grandmother's initials. Mary Ann. Her grandmother had died a decade ago, a quiet woman who avoided questions about her youth. But Emily knew that locket. She had seen it in photographs, seen it tucked in a jewelry box in the attic. Her hands shook as she paused the film. She wanted to tell herself it was coincidence. A trick of the eye. But deep down she felt the weight of recognition. She pressed play again. The family froze mid-motion. The father's hand hung in the air. The girl's laugh was cut off. The background noise died to silence. It was as if the film itself had stopped, but the reel kept spinning. Then, the impossible. The space around the family blurred, edges smearing like wet paint. Slowly, their bodies dissolved. Not walked away, not hidden. They simply vanished. Only an outline remained, a faint afterimage burned into the air, a human-shaped vacancy where they had stood. The townsfolk didn't scream. Didn't point. They moved on as if nothing had happened. Only one figure noticed, a nurse, standing in the shadows near a bakery. White uniform. Cap pulled low. The nurse turned her head toward the camera. And smiled. Emily froze. The profile was familiar, the slope of the nose, the arch of the eyebrow. It was her grandmother. Younger. Wearing the uniform of a state hospital nurse. The film jumped. Now the camera showed a hospital ward. Patients sat silently in rows, staring ahead. Nurses hovered behind them. And on a table sat machines, crude metal boxes with dials, coils, and strange funnel-like speakers. Above them hung a sign. Reactivation chamber, Series B, 1952. The footage crackled. The image twisted. For a moment, Emily swore she saw a shadow dart across the screen, too fast to be human. Her chest tightened. She stopped the film, but the sound of static continued even after the projector went dark. She grabbed the canister. On its underside, hidden under rust, someone had scrawled in chalk. The Andersons. July 23, 1953. Archive M.A. Anderson. That was her grandmother's maiden name. Emily's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You watched it. Now they know you. Her apartment went silent. Too silent. No hum of the fridge, no car sounds outside. Just a slow, deliberate knock at her front door. 3 knocks. Pause. 2 more. Her grandmother's old lullaby echoed in her head. The one Marian used to hum at night. But Emily finally understood the words hidden in the melody. Don't open the door. Don't let them in. The knocking grew louder. And the projector turned itself back on. Emily didn't move. The projector, though she had unplugged it minutes ago, whirred again. The static filled the room like whispering voices pressing in on every wall. She stared at the glowing frame frozen on the white sheet she used as a screen. It wasn't the family anymore. It was her apartment. The same couch, the same lamp, the same crooked picture on the wall, except in the image, Emily wasn't there. She stood up, heart pounding. The knock came again, 3 times, pause, then 2. Deliberate. Almost playful. Emily backed away, phone clutched in her hand. She typed a message to her best friend, "Call me. Something's wrong." But when she looked, the signal bars were gone. No service. She unplugged the projector, yanked the cord from the wall. The light stayed on, the reel still spinning. The machine hummed as if powered by something deeper than electricity. On the screen, the camera shifted. Now it showed the hallway outside her apartment door. Someone stood there. A nurse's silhouette. Emily's chest tightened, every instinct screaming. She grabbed the metal film canister and backed toward the kitchen, searching for something, anything, sharp. But when she turned, the screen was blank again. The static fell silent. Her phone buzzed. A voicemail notification. No missed call, no number. Just a file titled, archive_ma.wave. She pressed play. It was her grandmother's voice. Younger. Calm. Singing that lullaby. But the words weren't what Emily remembered. They were different. Clearer. July 23, 1953. They took the Andersons to Building 12. If you find this, don't come here. Don't dig. Then silence. Emily stood in the middle of her apartment, holding her phone like it might explode. She had 2 options, ignore it and pretend she never saw the film, or chase the truth the way she always had. Her grandmother had worked at Riverside State Hospital, an infamous psychiatric facility in Ohio closed in the late 1970s. The stories about it still floated through online forums, secret trials, missing patients, experiments that were erased from official history. It was 2 states away. Too far. Too dangerous. But Emily already knew she would go. The drive took 8 hours. Emily barely stopped, barely ate. She replayed the voicemail again and again, memorizing the strange shift in her grandmother's voice. Was it really a warning? Or a breadcrumb left intentionally, knowing someone would follow? The closer she got to Ohio, the more the landscape itself seemed to resist her. Heavy fog rolled across the interstate. Radio stations cut to static. Her GPS flickered in and out, rerouting her down cracked backroads lined with rotting barns and fields left to die. By late evening, she reached the gates. Riverside State Hospital stood like a carcass on the horizon, 5 stories of brick and stone, its windows shattered, its roof sagging inward. Rusted chain-link fences surrounded the property, though most had collapsed under the weight of vines and time. A single sign leaned sideways at the entrance. Riverside State Hospital, Department of Mental Hygiene. Closed 1979. Emily parked her car half hidden under the trees. She grabbed a flashlight, a recorder, her camera. As she pushed the fence aside, her phone buzzed again. No caller ID. Just one message. Building 12. Her throat went dry. She hadn't told anyone. Not online. Not in her notes. Now someone was guiding her deeper. Inside, the hospital smelled of mold, damp wood, and something sharper, a metallic tang that clung to the walls. Her footsteps echoed too loudly in the empty corridors. Peeling paint curled down like paper tongues, and old hospital charts littered the floors. She passed a mural on the wall. Bright colors faded into gray, smiling families holding hands beneath a banner that read, "The future belongs to the healthy mind." But someone had scratched through the word mind. Now it read, "The future belongs to the empty." Emily turned on her recorder. Her voice trembled as she narrated for the podcast. "I'm inside Riverside Hospital. Everything is untouched. It's like they left in the middle of a day. I think I'm being led to Building 12. I don't know if this is my grandmother's voice guiding me or..." A crash echoed from the far hallway. Emily froze. Her flashlight beam shook against the wall. "Hello?" Her voice cracked. No answer. She forced herself forward, deeper into the labyrinth. Signs pointed the way: East Wing, Chapel, Laboratory, Building 12. The letters faded, but they were still readable. When she reached the corridor marked 12, she felt it, a heaviness in the air, as though the atmosphere itself thickened. Her chest grew tight. Her hands tingled. The door stood at the end of the hall. Steel, bolted, with a faded placard, "Restricted Access, Reactivation Division." Someone had smeared a word in chalk beneath it. Just one word: family. Emily pressed her hand against the cold metal. The door creaked open under her touch, though no lock should have given way so easily. Inside was not a room, but a vast chamber. Rows of chairs were bolted to the floor, each with leather straps. Machines lined the walls, rusting metal boxes with dials and coils, each labeled with numbers: B1, B2, B3. Some still carried cables running to the chairs, frayed but intact. On the far wall hung photographs. Families. Mothers, fathers, children. Each one stared directly into the camera, their faces frozen in unnatural stillness. And in the center of the chamber stood a projection screen. The same kind of screen Emily used at home. It was already glowing. Her grandmother's face appeared on it. Younger. Smiling. Wearing the white nurse's uniform. "If you're here," the figure said, "you carry our blood. That means they'll want you too." The image flickered. The voice deepened. "Sit down, Emily. It's your turn." The screen went black. Every chair in the chamber shifted at once, leather straps snapping open like jaws waiting to close again. And behind her, the steel door slammed shut. The door sealed behind her with a hollow clang, echoing through the chamber like a coffin lid shutting. Emily's flashlight flickered, struggling against the unnatural darkness that pooled in every corner. She forced herself forward, recording everything in a trembling whisper for her podcast. "I'm inside, some kind of experimental hall. Rows of chairs with restraints. Machines marked Reactivation Division. There are photographs, families, dozens of them. I think they used families here." The smell was suffocating. Not just mold or rust, but something faintly sweet, like old perfume clinging to rotted cloth. Emily approached the photographs. Each had a name scrawled underneath in ink that had faded to brown. The Hendersons. The Cross family. The Andersons. Her breath hitched. The Andersons. She lifted the photograph beneath the name. 4 faces stared back, the man with the worn coat, the woman with the scarf, the boy with apples, the girl squinting in sunlight. Her grandmother's family. Her grandmother had always told Emily that her parents had died in an accident when she was young, and she'd been raised in foster care. But this photograph wasn't just proof they had existed. It was proof they had been taken. Emily turned. The projector screen buzzed back to life, glowing faintly. Her grandmother appeared again. But the smile was gone. This time her eyes were dark hollows, her mouth twitching as though controlled by something unseen. They told us it was patriotism. That we were building the mind of tomorrow. But what we built was a door. The film skipped. Frames stuttered. For an instant, Emily swore she saw her own face, strapped into one of the chairs. She stumbled back, heart racing. Her flashlight beam caught something on the floor, a ledger, its cover warped by water damage, pages still intact. She picked it up, turning to the first entry. July 23, 1953. Subject group, Anderson. Father resisted. Mother compliant. Children adjusted quickly. Family unit integrity preserved. Reactivation successful, pending observation. Emily's stomach turned. She flipped further. August 1953. Subject group, Cross. Reactivation unstable. Subject mother collapsed. Replace with alternate caregiver. Continue father/children conditioning. Her hands shook so badly the ledger almost slipped. She whispered into her recorder. They weren't just treating mental illness here. They were experimenting on whole families. Keeping them intact. Testing how long they could. A sudden mechanical hum cut her off. The machines bolted to the walls shuddered, dials twitching to life. Coils sparked, glowing faintly. Dust cascaded from the ceiling as though the entire chamber were inhaling after years of silence. Emily dropped the ledger. One of the chairs creaked. Its leather straps lifted on their own, coiling upward like snakes. Another chair followed, then another. Soon the whole row flexed, straining, as if waiting for occupants. The photographs on the wall rippled. Faces blurred, eyes shifting, mouths opening silently. Emily stumbled backward, tripping over a loose cable. The projector blared again. Her grandmother's voice filled the chamber. Sit down, Emily. They need a replacement. The straps whipped forward, slamming against the floor inches from her feet. She scrambled to her knees and ran. The steel door was still shut tight, but a second door stood on the far side of the chamber, smaller, almost hidden behind a row of machines. She sprinted, shoving it open. The room beyond was smaller, lined with filing cabinets and reels of film stacked to the ceiling. A single lamp flickered above a desk. On it lay another canister like the one she had received in the mail. Scrawled across the lid, M.A. Testimony, Final. Emily's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside wasn't film. It was a cassette tape. Her grandmother's voice again, softer now. If you are listening, it means they finally chose you. We didn't die in 1953. We were taken. Reactivated. They kept us here, replaying the same day, the same smiles, over and over. But something else came through the machine. Something we couldn't control. It lives in the static, in the film, in the wires. It feeds on families, and it never leaves. I helped them. I thought it was duty. But I see now what I've done. I was the one who kept them alive, even when they begged to be released. And now, Emily, you carry our blood. The tape clicked. Silence. Emily's head spun. Her grandmother hadn't been a victim. She had been part of it. Maybe even the key. A sound echoed from the chamber she had left, leather straps snapping shut, one after another. Something had taken its seat. Emily grabbed the cassette and ran deeper into the filing room, searching for another exit. Dust filled her lungs, her flashlight beam cutting across drawers labeled with dates and surnames. She pulled one open at random. Inside were rows of index cards, each stamped with the word reactivated. She read one. Name, Marian Anderson. Status, caregiver replacement. Cycle, ongoing. Another. Name, Emily Jacobs. Status, pending activation. Cycle, initiated. Her hands went cold. She wasn't just discovering history. She was inside it. And whatever cycle had begun in 1953 hadn't ended. Not yet. From somewhere behind her, the lullaby drifted again. Her grandmother's voice, gentle, coaxing. Don't open the door, don't let them in, unless they're your own. The filing room lights flickered. Cabinets rattled as though struck from within. Emily clutched the cassette to her chest, searching desperately for a way out. Then she saw it, another door. Marked not with a number, but a single word. Observation. She forced it open. The room was circular, lined with windows that looked down into countless chambers below, each one identical to the one she had just escaped. Each one filled. Families sat strapped in the chairs, eyes blank, bodies twitching under invisible currents. And in every chamber, a glowing projector screen played the same endless reel of their lives, looping laughter, conversations, gestures. Emily staggered forward, gripping the railing. There were hundreds of chambers. Thousands. Families preserved like specimens, living ghosts, trapped in replay forever. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. One new message. Welcome to the family. And behind her, the door she had entered creaked closed. Emily pressed her palms against the glass. Below her, chamber after chamber buzzed with sickly light. Families twitched and convulsed in their restraints, eyes wide but unseeing, mouths silently replaying words that no longer belonged to them. Her stomach churned. It wasn't just one family. Not just her grandmother's. It was hundreds. Generations, maybe. She whispered into her recorder. This isn't a hospital. It's a factory. A machine. They called it reactivation, but what I'm seeing is, God, it's preservation. Families taken from time, replayed like film reels. Over and over. The lullaby drifted again. Not from a speaker. Not from the tape. From everywhere. Seeping through the walls, carried by the static that lived inside the wires. Don't open the door. Don't let them in. Emily clutched the cassette. She wanted to smash it, but some instinct told her it was the only proof, the only lifeline. She turned, scanning the observation room. At the far end stood a desk buried under folders and photographs. Dust blanketed everything, but one envelope lay on top as if deliberately placed. Her name was written on it. Hands shaking, she opened it. Inside was a single black and white photograph. Her. Strapped to one of the chairs. Eyes empty. Mouth open mid-scream. Scrawled on the back, Cycle 29 begins with you. Her pulse thundered. The walls seemed to close in, humming with unseen current. Then her phone buzzed again. Another message. This time with a location pin. Basement. Control room. Emily's breath caught. Whoever was guiding her had to be here, inside Riverside. Maybe another survivor. Maybe the one who mailed her the first reel. She stuffed the photo in her bag and pushed open another door. The stairwell descended into darkness. The air grew colder, damper. She felt like she was sinking into the belly of something alive. Halfway down, she stopped. Someone had etched words into the wall with fingernails. Don't go lower. The static waits. Emily shone her flashlight on the next step. A faint smear of blood marked the edge, dried but recent enough to hold color. She swallowed hard and continued. At the bottom, a set of double doors waited. Heavy, industrial, their paint peeled away in long streaks. Above them hung a sign. Central Control, authorized personnel only. Her phone buzzed again. A final message. Inside. Hurry. Emily pushed the doors open. The room beyond was massive. Consoles stretched wall to wall, covered in dials, switches, reels of magnetic tape still looping endlessly. Banks of monitors flickered with static, occasionally breaking into flashes of faces, families, nurses, patients. And in the center of the room sat a single figure. An old man in a lab coat, hunched in a wheelchair. His skin was paper-thin, his hair wisps of white. He turned slowly, eyes cloudy but sharp with recognition. "You came," he rasped. His voice rattled like broken glass. Emily stepped closer, every muscle tense. "Who are you?" His lips twitched into something between a smile and a grimace. "I was Dr. Halvorsen. Project Director. 1952, I started the reactivation program." Emily's blood went cold. You did this? To them?" His laugh was hollow, dry. "Not to them. For them. We were told it would strengthen America, to preserve family unity. A perfect society, unbroken by death or time. But we didn't realize," his voice faltered. "We didn't realize something was listening." The static thickened in the air, vibrating the consoles, rattling the glass. Halvorsen's hands trembled. It came through the machines. We called it the static. It learned to wear faces. To keep families alive, but hollow. Empty shells, feeding it forever. We couldn't stop it. Only delay. Emily's voice broke. "My grandmother, Mary Ann Anderson, she worked here. She helped you." Halvorsen nodded weakly. "She was the best of us. Loyal. Dedicated. When others resisted, she embraced the work. She believed she was saving her family. But she didn't save them. She anchored them." Emily shook her head, clutching the cassette. "She sent me this. She tried to warn me." "No," Halvorsen whispered. His eyes gleamed. "She sent it to bring you here." The words hit Emily like a blade. Halvorsen coughed violently, blood flecking his lips. "It needs a successor. Caregiver blood. Anderson blood. The machine can't run without it. She's been waiting, for you." The monitors around them flared to life. Emily staggered back as her grandmother's face appeared on every screen. Smiling. Ageless. Eyes dark voids. Her voice filled the control room, smooth and steady. "You did well, Emily. Curiosity runs in our blood. You've always wanted the truth. Now you'll join us in it." The static surged, pouring from the speakers in a deafening roar. The lights flickered. The console sparked. Halvorsen's chair trembled. He clutched his chest, gasping. "It's too late. Once it calls your name, you can't run." Emily turned to flee, but the doors slammed shut, locking her inside. On the monitors, the families shifted. Every pair of eyes turned toward her. Hundreds. Thousands. In unison, their mouths moved. Whispering her name. "Emily. Emily. Emily." The static coiled like smoke around her, seeping into her ears, her eyes, her lungs. And somewhere inside the storm of voices, her grandmother's lullaby returned. "Don't open the door, unless they're your own." The control room throbbed with static. Emily dropped to her knees, clutching her head as voices poured from the machines, some whispering, some screaming, all speaking her name. The walls vibrated, the monitors flickered, and the hum of electricity built into a deafening roar. The old man in the wheelchair, Dr. Halvorsen, convulsed as the static crawled over him like a swarm of invisible insects. His eyes rolled back, his body twitching. Then he froze, jaw slack, eyes vacant. His voice came out hollow, layered with hundreds of tones. "It wants you, Emily. It has always wanted you." Emily staggered backward. Her flashlight flickered and died. Only the glow of the monitors remained, bathing the room in sickly white. On every screen, her grandmother's face stared down at her, smiling wider than any human mouth should. "Why me?" Emily cried. "Why me?" The voices answered in unison, shaking the room. "Because you still believe in family." Suddenly, the cassette in her pocket grew hot, burning against her skin. She yanked it out, nearly dropping it. The tape inside spun on its own, playing words she hadn't heard before. Her grandmother's voice, calm, cold. "You can't destroy the static, Emily. You can only feed it. Every family that enters, stays. That is the cycle. That is the future. And you, my dear, are its next caretaker." Emily screamed, slamming the cassette against the floor. The plastic cracked, reels spilling out. The monitors flickered violently, faces warping into grotesque shapes, mouth stretched wide, eyes hollow pits. She bolted for the door, slamming her fists against it. Locked. The console sparked, cables whipping like snakes across the floor. One lashed around her ankle, yanking her down. Another coiled around her wrist. She fought, clawing at the straps, but more wrapped around her chest, pinning her arms. The static roared, filling her lungs, her veins, her mind. Images flooded her head, endless families smiling in perfect stillness, her grandmother's hand guiding the machine, her own face strapped into the chair, her own voice joining the lullaby. For a moment, Emily felt herself dissolve. Then she remembered the photograph. The one she had pulled from the envelope. Her own face, strapped into the chair. Cycle 29. But something about it was wrong. The shadow behind her in the photo, it wasn't her grandmother. It was her. An older version, standing behind the chair. Emily's heart pounded. She realized the truth. The static didn't just preserve families. It replicated them. Replayed them. Replaced them. And she was already part of it. The cables tightened, dragging her toward the central console. The nearest monitor cracked, leaking a burst of white light that spilled across the floor like liquid. Inside the light, shapes moved, outlines of families reaching, pulling, smiling with teeth too many and eyes too black. The lullaby grew louder, sung now by hundreds of voices in harmony. "Don't open the door, don't let them in, unless they're your own." The doors behind her burst open. For a moment, Emily thought she was free. But beyond them wasn't the stairwell. It was her apartment. Her couch. Her lamp. The crooked picture frame on the wall. And sitting there, on her couch, was Emily. Smiling. Waiting. The cables pulled harder. The light swallowed her vision. Her last thought before the static consumed her was a single, desperate whisper into her recorder. "If you hear this, don't watch the reel. Don't come looking. They're still here. And now, so am I." When the static cleared, the control room was empty. Only the recorder remained on the floor, its red light blinking, waiting for the next hand to press play. And far away, in a quiet Chicago apartment, a package was placed gently on a doorstep. No return address. Just a small film reel, inside a dusty canister. A note taped to the lid. "Watch them. They never left."